Oh, Harley. You really did make a mess, didn't you? Of your life, not of the show. Show's great! Harley Quinn, Season 2. I've now seen it, and so hopefully, if I can keep on top of my life, but if I can do that, maybe I'll even get to watch the new season as it airs. That would be nice and nifty and cool, and I would dig it, but we'll see. So, Harley Quinn, the Animated Series, Season 2. I had liked Season 1. I like Season 2 more. It does what I want a second season of a show that I liked well enough to do, which is to zero in on the elements that are the strongest and really focus in on them, and to drop some of the dead weight and some of the things that didn't give as much. And here, it's largely focusing in on the primary characters and the characters that we like and are good, which is Harley and her crew, primarily. We get some bits and some other stuff with other characters, some of which I'll touch on, but one of the things that I didn't love, especially about the first season, was in an effort to sort of paint the overall picture of the kind of Gotham that it had, we spent a lot more time with the Legion of Doom and, things like Maxie Zeus and, stuff like, and Damian Wayne, and I think it was Damian. I think that was the Robin that was in that anyways. And all these things that I'm like, hey, you're just kind of going like, and here's our weird, adultish, edgy version of this and this. And I'm like, I tell you, I got the vibe. I got the vibe of your show. You don't have to show me the examples of how all the things are slightly edgier here in this version. And this season has way less of that. And the times that we get focus on anybody outside of Harley's crew, it makes sense. And it feels like it is feeding into the story of these people, as opposed to trying to be like, check out this version of Gotham. No. Give me the characters. Give me the people. And this season does. So I'm not going to go through episode by episode or anything like that. I kind of burned through it in a couple of sessions. But I will say, in terms of overall things, with some of the other characters, they did a number of things I was quite surprised by. I was really surprised when they killed the Penguin. I was, what? Huh? And then later on, you have Mr. Freeze, which that was really well done. And I like that they turned it on its head and then turned it right back again. That with Mr. Freeze being a very socially awkward person and a little bit off, Harley makes the assumption like, your wife isn't really waiting for you to unfreeze her and reunite you two. You are just an abusive, controlling jerk. Because she would assume that. Because the Joker was that. And she's just fairly recently in her life had her eyes properly opened to just how bad that was. And so she's seeing it in places that aren't really the same thing. And so initially when it was going that way, I was like, oh, I don't know about this. Because I like the reinvention of Victor Freeze's mourning family man was such a brilliant take on an otherwise incredibly generic character. When that first got introduced. And so I was like, oh, you're going to undo that. But then they redo it and have Victor Freeze die to save his wife. I'm like, okay, that is good and clever and like a really satisfying conclusion of their story. Actually, their story as a couple. Because obviously now she gets to live. And she shows up again several times after. I'm like, no, that works. I dig that. I also appreciate what they did with Gordon here, because Gordon was another one of the things that I didn't really care for in the first season. Having him be that much of a drunk, that bitter, that dependent on Batman. So here, having Batman out of commission for a good chunk of the show means that he has to come to terms with how far he's fallen, and the fact that right now he is not a damn good cop. Maybe he was once, he's not now. And to come to terms with his drinking, or at least come to recognize it, so that he can start to do the work to come to terms with it. I'm like, oh, good, you're not just a punchline now. I'll take it. As far as Harley's crew goes, so I like that Dr. Psycho actually flat out becomes the bad guy, because, like, yeah, he would. Given the opportunity, like, if there was anybody in the crew who was going to be like, I don't care about you guys, I'm going to go take advantage of this thing and rule the world, it was going to be him. So naturally, as soon as that happens, oh yeah, there we go. So, like, that tracked. That worked really well. The stuff with King Shark was good. It was good enough. I'm not as enamored with King Shark as some people seem to be, but I do like him, and I liked the sort of little bits of background we get on him. Clayface has grown on me a bit too. Like, he's still like very overdone. I am an actor, and like I understand that that's the joke, but like as somebody with performance ambitions, it's a lazy way to parody an actor, but you know what? Even he kind of grew on me. I don't know if that's just getting used to it or if they actually found a better balance. I'd have to go through both season 1 and season 2 again to know for sure, and don't really have the time to do that. So I can't say for certain there. Psy was used much more conservatively, which worked much better for me with that character. Like, everything seems to be better balanced overall. I like this version of Barbara, of Batgirl, and the whole sort of social media savvy, very into keeping in touch with her followers sort of thing. I dug that. This version of Alfred's really good, especially with the way he just keeps insisting, Master Bruce, no, you can't go out. And so that was all really good. I wasn't sure what I thought about what they were doing with the Joker. Because, I mean, initially it appears that he's dead, but like, we knew he wasn't. No body, no death. Like, standard rule of comics. And even with the body, they can usually still come back. But definitely no body, no death. So, when he showed up and he seems to have forgotten his memory, like, oh god, it's like this stupid amnesia trope, and he's gonna remember who he was. And it's all gonna come rushing back, and it's like he never left. Except then they did something interesting, which was have it be this amalgamation of who he used to be and who he'd become. So, like, he now can't deny being the Joker and the fact that he is a psychotic criminal who likes to kill people, but he now also likes to stay in some nights and watch Netflix on the couch with his girlfriend. I like, that concept should not work. The idea of trying to blend those two, but it kind of does. Like, that's... And if you were ever going to try and find a way to mitigate the Joker, this is kind of what you would have to do. Because, broadly speaking, you can't redeem him as a character. He's irredeemable. He's supposed to be irredeemable. Let's be clear about that. Notice I haven't really talked all that much about Harley or Ivy yet. Well, I was building there because... Yes! You should not be hugely shocked that I am in favor of Harley and Ivy. Not that I go so far as to say that I ship them, because if the show had just never done romantic entanglements for either of them, I would have been honestly okay with that. But if they're going to do romantic entanglements at all, having it be Ivy and Harley, yeah. And then, of course, having to deal with Kite Man, hell yeah. And that was done pretty well and actually pretty respectfully. And Kite Man, he's obviously heartbroken, but he took it like an adult. Which is fitting because Harley and Ivy weren't really being very adult about it. With Ivy basically going like, that didn't happen. Like, officially, but like, that didn't happen. Right? And then Harley just being like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm fine. Are you fine? I'm fine. Can you tell I'm fine? I'm fine. And like watching that kind of crack things in general, it's really interesting to watch two friends become more than that and see how the difficulties of trying to navigate that splinter out into a exaggerated animated superheroics version of just the kind of social damage that can happen when that sort of thing occurs and people don't know how to deal with it. Like, it was nicely done. It was sweet. They really are cute together. Yeah, it was good. It wasn't a perfect season. Like, there were a handful of things. I still don't like Frank. I don't think Frank's funny at all. And he seems to be strictly comic relief. And I think everybody else on the show is funnier than Frank. So, if the show ever wanted to ditch him, honestly, that'd be fine. And then there are other weird little moments. Like, there was one episode that started with this whole meta thing of these two sort of Snyder bros being all like, what a stupid show this is. I would never watch it. And then like parroting them. And like, here's the thing. I'm on the side the show is taking, like as a position, but I still didn't feel like that was necessary or added anything. So like there's occasional snippets of humor that are pot shots like that just, that fall flat for me. But they're few and far between. By and large, I like the focus on the characters. The characters are fun. They are not good people, but they're also not all completely horrible people. Because, like, I've learned trying to watch things like Rick and Morty or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's pretty rare for me to get into a show where everybody is terrible. It can happen sometimes, but if everybody is just an irredeemable bastard, I'm like, I don't want to spend time with these people. And while pretty much everybody involved in Harley Quinn is some degree of a bad person, almost nobody is 100% irredeemably bad. And that is just enough nuance for me to be like, yeah, I want to spend time with these people. And I look forward to the next one. Harley Quinn, Season 2. What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. I have a Patreon. There might be a link. More likely it's in the description because YouTube sucks lately. If you're able to help me out in any amount on the Patreon, it is what keeps this operation up and running and pays my bills. But you also don't have to. The other stuff that I mentioned, like, share, subscribe, all helps me out, but no pressure for that either because we take a relaxed attitude around here. So you can just come on back next time you need a break.